the kids have been home now for like 8 days. We had Thanksgiving, and now there's like a lot of freezing fog, so they've just been missing a lot of school. But I still need to get stuff done. So my plan is this week I want to work on my pantry, and I want to start creating my sink cabinet for Butler's pantry. We're gonna have like a 6-foot cabinet, and we're gonna put like a sink in it, and then have a station for like a water filter and the coffee pot and all that back there. So that's kind of the plan. But first I need to make bagels because we are out. Everybody thinks they're dying, so I'm gonna use up some of my sourdough starter and get some bagels going, and then hopefully gather up tools for working on the pantry. Alright, so I just went and put socks and shoes on. I changed my pants. I have what I call my blanket pants. Probably not the best to work in. They're like Sherpa lined. I'm sure they'll pick up all the sawdust. So I put on leggings, even though it's really cold in here. It's only like 60 degrees in the house. But hopefully we'll get the heating stuff figured out soon. I let my mixer go for like 7 minutes. It looks really mixed, so I'm gonna pull it out and add more to it and keep it going. So I've been doing homemade bread for a while, and I essentially stripped all the gears out of my KitchenAid. So my husband got me this new Bosch mixer. I'm now going to use it for all my bread making, and KitchenAid, my dad replaced the gears in it, and it's going to be light duty now. So I can use it for my attachments, maybe other things, but mostly just using my Bosch now for bread and heavier things so that I don't kill my KitchenAid. Alright, so I got my bagel dough all mixed up, and now I have to sit for 8 to 12 hours. So while that's, maybe I need a different lid, or stop leaning on it. Because I just used my, I don't know if you can see it here, I used my mixer lid to cover the dough for now. I usually just use plastic wrap. These lids actually come with their own lid, or these bowls came with their own lid. I'm just being lazy, I guess. I don't know. So while this sits, I'm gonna work on the pantry. I did run down and I found my styrofoam that I'll cut on, and I found, what else did I bring up? I brought up a jigsaw. I did not find call it the guide, the skill saw guide. It's made by Kreg Jig. I'd rather use that because then I know my lines are nice and straight. If I can't find it, I can do it by hand, but hopefully my dad or Travis know where it is. So either I'll find it or I'll just pre-hand it, I guess. Alright, while I wait for them to respond about my saw guide, I will kind of show you what I got going on in the pantry. I'll probably start marking it out with tape so I get an idea of what I'm doing. Alright, so to give you an idea of where this is our kitchen is that way. Here's our fridge. This is part of the old chimney system. And then this will eventually have doors here, and this will be our pantry. We just put in a new door that goes to our mechanical space. The shelf or the counter that I'm wanting to build is gonna go over here. That's actually the drain for the sink that was already in place from when this was a hotel room. So I want my counter over there, and that's the first one I'm gonna build because the counter in the kitchen is just about dead. Alright, so when working on a project like this, I'll show you why it's important for me to tape it out and visualize it. I'm a very visual person to begin with, and so having it taped out makes a lot more sense for my brain. But also, it is because... Oh, let me see if I can zoom you out. This old building, next to the wall, the floors are definitely higher and they slope down the further kind of you go towards the middle. It's just, you know, part of living in a 100-old building. Things settle over time. Everything's secure and stable now. But that means in order to make my countertop level, this side of the countertop is going to be about 35 3/16 up from the floor, and this end over here is going to be 33.5. So if I didn't like pull that out, visualize it on the wall, it probably would have been a lot harder for me to figure out. I know that I'm smart enough to figure it out. A lot of times I would build my cabinet all the same and then just level it at the end. But I think with such a big difference, I want to have it kind of built in place the way I need it, so I'm not having to like shim things up. You know, it's like 1.5 inches or something. It's a lot. So I don't want to have to like, it's gonna look really weird if I don't just plan accordingly. Alright, so I got my saw guide all set up. So now I'm going to rip down the sides of my cabinets. I'm going to cut them down to 22 3/4 inches. Let's go. Actually got safety glasses this time. Alright, so I just went and marked the top cut, and I went and marked where I will cut out with my jigsaw the toe kick, and so this will be my far left side of my 6-foot cabinet. So I've dry fit my first piece in here. I'll turn around and show you what I've got so far. So this is it. This will be my left-hand side of the cabinet. Looks like that'll do it. So now I need to cut 3 more of those, and I just have to keep measuring along and make sure that I kind of keep it level, because otherwise this is going to be a really funky cabinet. So I got 2 of my cabinet sides cut out, toe kicks cut. I cut some little spacer scraps. I'm going to attach these 2 pieces together. I'm probably gonna have to stop soon for the day because I gotta take kids to Fangs Sports. So I want to get them at least somewhat attached together so they don't fall over. I'll show you what I did real quick. I was using the Kreg Jig, so this part clamps onto my wood. This drills the pilot hole. This has a little collar to stop it at the right length. So then you just put your screws in there and screw into your wood. Everything is set based on the thickness of your wood, and I knew I had this. Well, I had set this at 3/4 inch, which is the dimensions of my plywood, or at least so I thought. I drilled my holes I tried to attach it. It was definitely not working. I had to go back and troubleshoot. I remeasured my plywood. It was definitely 3/4 of an inch. That shouldn't have been a problem. Well, I went back and I looked at my guide, and on here, it was not set to 3/4 of an inch. There's, back here somewhere, there's little arrows, and you have to set that to 3/4 of an inch. I hadn't checked my guide. So they were not in the right spot. They were not connecting. So I went and I'm gonna just use this. I'm gonna use the other side of it because right here had nothing. And then I went and screwed that not where I intended to. I'll take it off the tripod and show you. So my intent was to put this piece over here all along the front. So I was gonna mount this here and then mount this one this direction so that you have something to screw to the wall and then you have a support for the front of the counter. Well, I already screwed that up. So I'm gonna use that scrap that I created, or that piece that didn't work the first time I tried to drill the holes, and I'm just gonna put it underneath this one. I'm gonna put 2 screws into the top and and then a screw into each side. Kind of overkill, but at least that way I have something to screw this cabinet to the wall once I get the whole system done. So it's pretty chilly in my house, so it is the next day, but my bagels are finally ready to boil and bake, so that's what I'll be working on this morning. So I'm making some pretty good progress on the cabinets in the pantry. I really don't want to use more, like I cut down what I needed for like the supports. I don't have any more thin pieces that'll work between the 2 sections where the sink's gonna sit. So I went and scrounged. I did find in our scrap pile, this is like the tongue and groove that was being used on the ceiling in our little patio space. It's like a 1/2 inch instead of 3/4 inch. So I cut that down to the width I needed. Now I'm just going to attach them together. And then that will, so I have to reset my Kreg Jig for that, and then I can keep going. My cabinet carcass here mostly done. I need to put this bottom piece in the middle section. So after that, the next thing I'm going to do is put a quarter-inch sheet of plywood along the back to kind of help stabilize it and square it up a little bit. Since I need to do that anyways, I'm going to pull this all out and hopefully lay it on the floor safely, face down, so I can do that bottom middle and then do the back. So we'll see how that goes. So for putting on those braces where I use the scrap, I had to adjust my Kreg Jig for the pocket holes because the material was only a 1/2 inch thick instead of all my plywood is 3/4 inch thick. So now I need to reset my Kreg Jig back to 3/4 inch. I thought I would show you how I do that. This is the door in my bathroom. Dusty in here today. I want to recreate a trim like this in the pantry around the door in there. So I'm just gonna measure this because I want to kind of plan for some shelves on that sink wall in there. I don't know if you can tell in here, but I still need to finish this. I have like brads sticking out and stuff, so they need to be clipped and filled and all that. But from a distance, it looks good. So I just need to measure into the pantry where that would hit on the wall in there, and then I can kind of start planning where I might have some like floating shelves for more storage. Alright, so over here in the pantry, I went and kind of put where my molding is around the door. I went and laid out maybe a couple of shelves. The sink will be here in the middle, and so what I'm thinking is the water filter will be on one side. We're going to have a little pot filler to fill that up easily. And then on the other side, I want the coffee pot. I'm thinking maybe over above the coffee pot, just doing some kind of cute little rack of some sort for mugs and things. So this is kind of what I'm thinking so far. So now I am working on my sink down here. Woo, sorry. I'm gonna take this piece of brown paper and I'm gonna make a template for what the sink kind of looks like on the bottom, so that I can then draw it out, make a template, and cut out the hole in my countertop so that I kind of know where that's gonna go. Make some plans. Alright, so this is a great visual of why I have to do templates. I don't just draw on my counter, I don't just go for it. So this part right here, side to side, great. The spacing in the back, great. Down the sides, great. My measurement in the front, for some reason I measured from here to here, but then on the template, I don't know if you guys can see what I'm pointing at. So when I measured the distance, I measured here to here, and then when I drew on my template, I drew from here to here. So now, if I would have cut this, the front of my sink would have had a hole in front of it. So obviously I need to go back and add a couple more inches back to my template, because otherwise it's going to look real bad and it's not going to function correctly. So I went and fixed my template. I need to unwrap my counter. I did go in and I added a little bit of tape too on these to kind of pull the corners in. So this is where I fixed it. But this will give me my lines for where I need to draw and then cut out the sink. Yeah, so I think I'm good to go there. I mean, I'm glad I caught that. That would have been, here, let me see if I can show you a little better. So this is my previous cut line, and this is my actual cut line. So, I mean, that's a pretty good gap. That's like 1.5 inches, 2 inches, something like that. So that would have been bad. So now that this is ready, I just need to prep my countertop, find a spot to cut it, cut my hole, and then that way I can seal it and stuff, maybe before Travis does my water lines. So, it's getting closer. Okay, so I put the template down. You can kind of see it. I outlined where the sink's gonna go. I've got a drill bit to drill some pilot holes, and then I'm gonna use the jigsaw and cut it out. So we'll see how it goes. Woo. So yesterday, most of the day, I worked on video editing, and kind of in addition to that, I was working on my countertop in here. I don't know if I can get you to see it a little better, but so far I have 3 coats on the countertop. So I'm going to come back in and do another layer of scuff sanding and then do another coat. I'll probably do 5 coats of poly on this countertop and then be ready to finish it up, install my sink, do all those things. So, getting closer. So for sanding this counter, I'm using some 500 grit sandpaper. It's just enough to take down like the rough spots, because you'll get little dust particles and hairs and things stuck in there. It's just a very, very light sanding. Between coats, you don't really want to actually take off any of your top coat. You would just want to smooth it out just a tiny bit. Now that I've scuff sanded, I need to go wash my hands, I'm all coated. I need to wipe this down really well and then stir up my poly coat, get my brush, and carefully brush on another coat. Alright, so I did another layer of top coat. I'm gonna let that dry, come back, sand once more, do one more layer, and then I'll think I'll be done. So I need to wait 2 hours before my next coat, so I am gonna go do homeschool with my youngest.